So welcome. Today is session 4, how to attach files and photos to a record and how to email them to clients. So today we're going to be talking about attaching any documents or photos to the records in your database. And you're able to attach photos and like Excel documents, PowerPoint presentations, and so on to any of the records. That goes for properties, for contacts, for project records, as well as being able to attach documents to history items in REA. So we're going to start off with the most basic way of doing it. We're going to add a property photo to a property. Now there's two main ways to do this. There's a section down here under lists that says attachments. So if you click on that attachment section, you'll see any attachments that you have for the property that you're currently on, with a few different columns based on the attachments. So you can attach files to your properties in one of two ways. One way is to right-click here in the attachment section and choose Add. And that's going to bring up a file browser. So I can just go to my location that I have my files saved at. So I've got my webinar files here. And I can just select a file right from this list here and select the file that I want to add to the property. So let's say I'm going to add a commercial building picture. So I'm just going to select that and hit Open. And it's going to bring up the attachment details window. Now here you can change the description. So let's say front right view. Type, you can change that so you can see what type of attachment it is. So in this case it's a picture. And I can just hit OK. Now you notice on the left side there's now a picture showing up there. So you have one picture on each property that's going to show up as the default. That's the picture that's going to show up on the thumbnail icon on the left side, as well as showing up here with default. So that'll be the picture that's also printed out if you ever do a report on a property. Now, I said there was two ways to attach files, so that's the one way. The way that most people I find use the attachments is just opening up the file that they're going to attach, so bring up the folder that you have, and just dragging and dropping from your Windows Explorer to the property. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up another property, let's say 14503 Sherman Way, and we want to add a picture to it. So I can just drag this picture right here to the thumbnail section or here to the attachments to attach that photo. I'm just going to hit OK, and it will show up there. Now when you double click on the photo, it's actually going to bring up the full-sized image. So if I bring this over here, you see that the picture shows up in its full size. Now in addition to photos, you can attach any type of files to a given record. So let's say I wanted to add an Excel document. Well, just the same, I can drag and drop and put it right to the attachment section here. Notice if I try to drag it to the picture section, it gives me a little, you're not going to do that kind of icon. It only allows you to drag pictures to the thumbnail section on the left side here. So I can just drag it right here to attachments, and it'll come up with that same attachment details. I could just select here spreadsheet as the type and hit OK. So each of these attachment section kind of works as a little folder for the property. So you can have multiple documents and pictures associated with that property right here and be able to easily bring up all of those attachments right from the property record. So if I wanted to bring up the Excel document again, I could just go right to Sherman Way record here, double click on the Excel document, and it will actually open that document up right in Excel. So it pretty much does just function as another folder in your Windows. It works pretty much exactly the same way, and it actually works in the same way where if you want to then send that file out from REA, just like you would normally drag and drop from a file in Windows to the attachments on a email, you can drag and drop right from this section here under attachments. So if I have like a new email message, I could just drag and drop. So I'm just going to do that, and it'll attach the file right to the email as well. So it works just the same way going in or out. You can just drag and drop right from REA to attach the file to the record. You can also use it just like the Windows File Explorer. So if I wanted to just drag it to my desktop to make a copy of it, I could do that as well. And it'll put that document right where I decide to drag and drop the file to. So this is great because it'll function with things like Dropbox, where if you have a Dropbox folder, like I have a folder here for REA webinar files, I can just drag and drop right to that folder, attaching files right from REA to my Dropbox account. Or vice versa, you can actually drag right out of Dropbox. Because of its very nature, Dropbox just works with the Windows File Explorer, so you're able to use that just the same as any folder in your Windows. So the same thing's going to apply to any similar products to Dropbox, such as SugarSync. There's a number of imitators out there, and it actually doesn't hurt to have multiple accounts. That way you can have one for business, one for personal items, and so on. So you're able to pretty much just use this section as a repository for any files on a given property. Now, if you're on a multi-user version, one of the greatest benefits of this is it allows you to share the files between you and everybody else that's on your team that shares an REA copy with you. Because when you attach a file to a given record, that file is then saved to a central location on whatever computer is the server in a shared folder. Now that shared folder will create a copy of that file each time you attach a photo or a document to a record in your database. So even if you end up deleting the picture later on and from your Windows, it'll actually still be right on the REA record. You'd have to, if you really want to get rid of it at that point, you could just delete it right from here, and that'll actually delete the record from that shared folder in REA as well. But if one person on your team attaches a Word document to, say, a project in your database, then everybody will have access to that document unless the document, of course, is set as private. Like when you actually bring up the attachment details, there is the option here for team to set each of those documents to private, so only you or whoever you decide to be able to view it is able to view it in REA. It still saves it to the shared location, but it's not going to show up for other members that aren't supposed to see the record at that point. Now, the converse is also true. So what I mean is when you receive an email and it has an attachment in it, and you want to bring the attachment into REA, you could just drag and drop right from the attachment in the Outlook email and drag it right to the document as well. It also works if you're using other email programs. It doesn't work with web-based email like Gmail, but if you're using like Thunderbird, for example, which is an alternative to using Outlook for email, you can just drag and drop right out of the program. Basically, anywhere you can drag and drop files allows you to drag and drop right into or out of REA. So that pretty much covers the webinar for today. This one kind of stands alone. It doesn't really have a whole lot of tie-ins with other webinars. So again, I want to remind you to view the, go ahead and take a look at our YouTube site. I'm just going to bring that up real quick. So if you just search for REA webinars and you see its spelling right there, you'll see the different videos that are available right now. So far we have Session 1 and Session 3 from the REA 9 mini-series, as well as the special webinar that was on Friday for customizing your REA database. So I put these up there to make sure that you have access to them, even if your support expires or you're currently a demo user and can't access the training videos in REA. It'll also be put into the training videos section, however, which you can access from help and training videos. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. You'll be able to see the videos immediately after they're posted. I try to get them up within an hour of hosting the webinar. And we will be meeting again on Wednesday. That'll be the 29th of February. And Wednesday's webinar will cover how to filter and sort properties, spaces, and clients. So that's going to be a way to be able to query in your database to show only the information you're wanting to view at this time. So like, for example, you could bring up all of your properties in a certain city, or all of the owners of properties in a certain city, all of the properties that match the certain criteria that a buyer is looking for in a property or a tenant is looking for in their spaces. It's kind of an important webinar, and querying is something that actually a lot of people get thrown off by it because it's not something you normally do, and it uses computer logic to be able to do it. So like spending about 10 minutes learning how to do that is a phenomenal thing to know how to do, and allows you to navigate your database so much more effectively at that point.